Hello, I'm Katka from HAC-dev QE, and I would like to share a little bit about contract testing between HAC-dev and HAS. So in this presentation, I would like to introduce contract testing to you and describe what does the contract test mean from HAC-dev perspective, and I will share what is already implemented and show a short demo about how it works and show some future plans regarding contract testing. So let's start with understanding how contract tests work. First, we need to understand what does the contract mean. So in terms of contract testing, it is a JSON file that describes a communication between two services. Contract specifies how the request and response should look like. It allows testers to verify if some item has the correct type, if it matches regex, or even if it has expected value. Contract tests verify that the contract was not broken, and during this presentation I will be talking about consumer and provider. So the consumer specifies the desired behavior in contract, and the provider makes sure that the recent changes are not breaking this contract. Contract tests are consumer-driven testing, so the consumer is the one who is saying how should the contract look like. And all the information about contracts, versions and verification history are stored in a packed broker, which is an application with quite nice UI, as you can see in the picture. And the benefit is that all the providers and consumers and all the results are saved just in one place, so it's easy to find them. Let's sum up the benefits that contract tests have. In the picture you can see a test pyramid. It starts with the unit test at the bottom and goes to the manual testing at the top. Going bottom up, every tier requires more resources and time for the test execution, so less tests should be written in each tier. You can see that the back tests are running together with the unit tests on the lowest tier, so that means that they need just a basic environment. They are fast, and it's suggested to have big test suites written there in this tier. Contract tests are testing just the communication structure, not actual behavior. That's why they are so quick and cheap. And all the results can be sent to a common place called packed broker. So those are the benefits. And why do we want to have a HAC-dev contract test in place? So HAC-dev is communicating with several other components like application service or SPI, and it is very tricky to watch all the changes happening in those components and to make sure that the API is not changed and the data returned are still the same, and so on. In the past, several incidents happened when the API was changed and it caused misbehavior of a HAC-dev. So contract testing should not only prevent that, but they should also make us sure that the current version of HAC-dev and other components deployed on one infrastructure, for example on stage, are compatible and should work together. One of the questions that I got was why don't we use end-to-end test for that? As we already have them, so we have everything prepared. So I would like to shed some light on that. End-to-end tests are testing a whole product, so they ensure us that all components works together, and that's the main benefit of end-to-end tests. On the other hand, it requires a lot of resources for all those components, and it requires a lot of time to spin them up. And the bigger the end-to-end test suite is, the more time it requires for maintenance and the less stable it is. So end-to-end testing is suitable for small test suite, like some happy path or golden path tests. Contract tests run as part of unit tests, so that means they run also locally on developers' machines. They run quickly, without any additional developer effort, without spinning all the RH step with all the components together. They just run the unit test the same way they were used to before. And it's important to understand that they are not testing behavior of the component. They are just testing the communication structure. So they can't replace end-to-end or unit tests. They are just some additional tests testing that the API is valid. We already have some job done. So we have written 2 tests between HAC-dev and application service. One is for application creation and second for getting an application with some components. We have packet broker deployed and set up on our cluster, and we store contracts and their verification history there. We have a CI set up and versioning and pushing new contracts from HAC-dev. On the HAC side, we run the contracts verification locally during the development as part of the unit test. And we also have CI set up that verifies contracts with every commit pushed to the pull request. The verification results are sent to the packet broker when the PR is merged on a HAC side, so it's not sent with every commit. We have also documentation ready for contract testing on both HAC-dev and HAC side, so it should be easier for developers to contribute to those tests. Now I would like to share a short demo showing how are the backtests working and how it looks like when the breaking change is made. In this demo you will see change of the condition reason from OK to finished. So let's start with that. So how does it work now locally is that we agreed with the developers that we will keep it as simple as possible. So developers were used to just run the make test command. So we agreed to just extend actual command and add packet test to that one. We also agreed to separate unit tests and pack tests. The benefit of pack test is that they run together with the unit test, so using the same command. But we agreed to skip them from the unit test and run them as a separate test suite, because it's much easier for developers to debug the problems if the unit test starts to fail. So this way it's much easier to find the root cause of the failure. So we agreed to split it like that. For the demo purpose, I decided to change the condition and to change the reason from OK to finished. This is just a string type, just some, let's say, random string that is there. It's not safe in any template or custom resource definition. So it's just there. And if we run the test, unit test will pass with that change. But on the HAC-dev side, if it gets merged, we are checking the exact string that is there. So we are checking if it is error or if it is OK. So with that change, we will break the behavior on a HAC-dev. And it will not be caught by the unit test. So let's just run test and see. So running test is as simple as usual, just make test. And I've run that before to save some time. So let's take a look how it looks like when it fails. So here at the end, you can see there is one error and it's in a pack test. So let's scroll a little bit up and see this beautiful diff. And it's saying us that the expected was to have the reason OK. Expected, it means it was in a contract that was defined by the HAC-dev. And actual behavior of the code was that it returns the reason finished. So that is the benefit of the contract test, that even me as a developer of application service, when I do some change locally, here I clearly see that I may do some break-in change for some other component that depends on our code. So that's the power of contract tests. Thank you. That's it. that's how it works. And now let's talk a little bit about future plans. I think that those tests have their potential and may help us to build more stable product. So I would love to see developers extending those test suites, as they have the best knowledge about the code and may make the most informed decision about what should be tested in a contract, what should be mandatory, what should be just optional field. And once we have test suites ready and running, we may think about making those tests mandatory for PR to be merged. Now they are running just as an optional, so if they are failing, it's actually not preventing developers to merge their changes. And we also have plans to add those tests as a gate-in for stage and production. In the Pact framework, there is a feature, it's called Can I Deploy? And it's made just for that, for the gate-in. So it checks compatibility of versions that should run together on stage or production or any other environment that we specify. And I would also like to onboard other components after that. Probably SPI will be the next one, and yeah, I hope it will go well there too. So that's it. If you have any questions, reach me out. I would be happy to answer them or just chat about contract stats with you. Thank you.